Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're working the IT help desk right now, you might feel kind of stuck, right? Just resetting passwords and answering basic user tickets all day. But I'm here to tell you, level 1 support is absolutely not a dead end. In fact, it's the ultimate launchpad in tech. That is, if you follow a really strategic 3-year progression.
There's this quote from the r/IT career question subreddit that, well, it really hits the nail on the head. It says, the only thing harder than getting a help desk job is getting out. I know that pain point is very real for so many of us, but consider this explainer your ultimate mentor's blueprint, okay? We're going to map out exactly how to escape the help desk and seriously accelerate your career.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's exactly the journey we're going on today. First, the Help Desk Launchpad. Then, Year 1, Mastering L1. Next, Year 2, the L2 Jump. After that, Year 3, Senior Engineering. And finally, we'll wrap up with your concrete 12-month action plan.
Section 1. The Help Desk Launchpad, the gatekeeper of IT. You know, almost 99% of IT professionals start their careers right here. And while it might feel pretty tedious at times, L1 is actually a strategic crucible for engineering talent. It's not a dead end. Working the modern 2026 help desk teaches you something totally invaluable. It teaches you how the average person thinks about technology. It forces you to learn how to communicate really complex technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders, whether that's a frustrated user or, hey, down the line, a CEO. Mastering this translation skill early on, that's what separates the great engineers from the average ones.
And this brilliantly illustrates the very specific ladder we're going to climb over the next 3 years. Year 1 is all about mastering foundational support. Year 2 is where we pivot. We start automating those systems and expanding to the cloud. And Year 3, that is where you truly architect and orchestrate these environments. So let's break down exactly what each of these years looks like.
All right, Section 2. Year 1, Mastering L1. Building the Unshakable Foundation.
In your first year on the desk, your focus really needs to be laser sharp on these specific skills if you want that rapid promotion. You've got to master ticketing workflows and documentation. You absolutely must understand operating system fundamentals across both Windows and Linux, and grasp those networking basics. Think CompTIA A+ and Network Plus level knowledge. Crucially, you need to develop technical English and genuine empathy. But you want to know the real secret here? Take the tickets no one else wants. Seriously, becoming the go-to person for the hardest problems and practicing exceptional customer service, those are your ultimate differentiators in Year 1.
Now, as you approach the end of Year 1, there's this essential mindset shift that has to happen. You need to transition from reactive break fix to proactive problem solving. What does that mean? Well, it means moving away from just, closing a ticket as fast as humanly possible, and instead stopping to identify why those tickets are happening in the first place and figuring out how to stop them from ever coming back.
Moving right along to Section 3. Year 2, the L2 Jump. Moving beyond the GUI.
Now, what's really interesting about this phase is how drastically your day-to-day changes. Moving beyond the GUI, the graphical user interface, means your focus shifts almost entirely from manual clicks over to scripting and deeper investigation. You're going to need scripting basics, so Python and PowerShell are absolute must-haves. You'll dive into API testing and integration using tools like Postman. You'll learn log analysis and observability with platforms like ELK or Splunk. And of course, you really need to grasp cloud fundamentals, things like AWS and Azure Identity and Access Management and virtual networks. Learning to write a Python script or run an API test, that is your literal bridge to advanced engineering.
And hey, if you're sitting there wondering why these specific skills matter so much, check out this staggering data point. 86% of companies report an inability to see or build the talent needed to keep pace with disruption. Think about that for a second. By learning these Year 2 automation and cloud skills, you aren't just getting yourself promoted, you are actively solving a massive critical talent gap in the 2026 market. You literally become indispensable.
Section 4. Year 3, Senior Engineering. Orchestrating the systems.
At this point, you've left the traditional help desk far, far behind. Welcome to Year 3. You are now transforming into a senior support engineer or a systems administrator. Your skills here, they are heavily focused on scale. We're talking using infrastructure as code, like Terraform. You're running advanced observability queries in Grafana. You're implementing zero-trust architecture and security protocols. You're managing incident command, and you're orchestrating CI/CD pipelines. And super importantly, you are now mentoring junior staff. Year 3 is all about platform ownership. You're the one writing the documentation and building the home labs that those L1s are relying on.
So the crucial point is really understanding this ultimate evolution.
L1 is about manual configuration, right? Clicking through endless menus to set up one user or one server. But L3 is about infrastructure as code. Senior engineers automate the entire infrastructure instead of configuring servers one by one. It is literally the difference between building a single car by hand and building the factory that produces the cars.
And let me tell you, the market rewards this evolution generously. Average salaries start around $58,000 for L1 support. But once you make that L2 engineer jump, you're looking at averages around $109,000. And by the time you hit L3 or senior engineering, compensation packages average $130,000 and up. Following this roadmap unlocks some massive, data-backed salary leaps for sure.
Section 5. Your 12-month action plan. Making it real.
Let's move to our action plan and see how this builds out. We've looked at the 3-year macro view, but let's zoom in on a highly concrete, actionable 12-month sprint that you can literally start today. In months 1 through 3, focus on fundamentals. Study for your CompTIA certs and learn basic Python and SQL. In months 4 through 6, move to automation and APIs. Build home labs, practice PowerShell scripting, and get the hang of Postman. Months 7 through 9 are for cloud and infrastructure. Grasp AWS or Azure basics and really practice your log analysis. Finally, months 10 through 12 focus on professionalism. This is where you build a high-signal, highly visible portfolio of your automation projects and leverage internal mobility at your company to go grab that promotion.
This entire process ties into a core 2026 workforce concept called talent velocity. Now, talent velocity is defined as the strategic orchestration of synchronizing your skill acquisition with market disruption, which I know sounds like a mouthful, but what it really means is that in today's tech landscape, you have to treat your career like a continuous business imperative. You don't just sit around waiting for a promotion to be handed to you. No, you proactively acquire the exact skills the market is desperate for right now.
Which brings us to our final thought. The gap between where you are today and where you want to be is bridged by action. So my challenge to you is this: what process will you automate today? Tomorrow, when you sit down at the desk, I want you to find just one small ticket, one repetitive task, and automate it. That is day 1 of your new career. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.